Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to prepare our vine applique template for tracing. So I'm going to grab my ruler and my rotary cutter and let's have a look at the template pieces. So there are 2 at the back of the pattern. You will find 4 templates in total at the back of your pattern. 2 are for the applique tracing and the other 2 are for the applique layout. So we're working on the tracing ones for now. And as always with all the patterns, we have a grey area here that I don't want you to trim. I want you to leave that grey area untrimmed because that gives us our wiggle room for joining up our pieces. So what I'm going to do now is just trim this section here off the pattern along the thick black line. And we can discard this piece now, we don't need that. Okay, so let's turn this back around and let's line up our pieces and just double check that it is going to line up correctly. We're just overlaying this black line with the thick black line that's here on the left part, which is the top of the template. So I'm just going to visually check first to make sure that everything's going to line up nicely. That is our applique template. So now I can add, I'm just using a regular glue stick, but you could use double-sided tape or something else, but we're going to apply it in the grey area. Just going to turn these 90 degrees. It's a bit easier for me to do this without getting my head in the shot for you. So I'm just going to line these up, making sure that all these lines here meet nicely, and then we'll just smooth that down. And that is our applique template ready for tracing. Okay, on to tracing our templates. So what I want to do, I want to secure my template to the work surface, just so it doesn't move around whilst I'm tracing. So to do that, we just need some sticky tape, something of that like. I've got some electrical tape here, that will do. Let's just grab some of that. I need to grab a pair of scissors, not my fabric ones, just some regular paper scissors, and I'm just going to trim a couple of little pieces off here and stick this down to my work surface. Stop it from rolling around whilst I'm tracing. Here we go, one last piece. And that is stuck down on my work surface and isn't going to shift about now whilst I do my tracing. So grab your piece of fusible web. Now, depending on which brand you're using, you'll have at least one paper side. So we want to turn it over. Our bumpy side, the side with the fusible, is going to go against our template here, look. There we are. And again, what I might do is just grab a few pieces of tape again, just to tape that web in position. So again, it doesn't move whilst I'm actually tracing. Let's pop one over here. It's just a temporary hold. Let's pop another one here. I think that should be enough to hold it, but if you want to, by all means, pop some more in all 4 corners. Okay, so I need to grab a tracing pen now, something I'm going to be able to see. Let's see, I'll go with a nice thick Sharpie. We'll see if it shows up okay on camera. I'm not sure if it's going to run out or not. Okay, so start wherever you want to. Don't worry too much about keeping it perfectly straight. If you want to, by all means, place a ruler along those lines and draw the line down. Let's do that like that. Just going to trace around. And these corner pieces, these sections at the end of your stems, are a little bit longer than you might need for this particular block. working on the looping block today. But as we go through this, there are 4 corner blocks and they each have different sized flower petals that are used. So I've made these deliberately large so that this template will work for all of your corner blocks. So I'm going to remove the tape. There we go, you can see your trace template. Let's pop that there. And let's remove our tracing template entirely. Now there will be one of these in the back of each of the instalments for the Country Garden quilt. However, you can just set this one aside and you can reuse this piece for all the remaining blocks. You don't need to print them out each and every time. Okay, I'm going to grab an ironing surface now, a pressing mat. There we go. So we bring that into the shot. There we are, and turn on the iron. So normally when you buy a fusible product, it will state in there what the pressing instructions are, how hot to have your iron, etc. So I'm just having a quick look here. We want a medium heat on this one with no steam. So let's just turn the iron down so we get to a medium heat. Move it to one side and let's grab our piece of fabric. We're going to adhere this to the wrong side. So this is the right side. I'm working on my blue and white scrappy version for this tutorial. That is the wrong side. Ideally, you want to pre-wash your fabric for this because you don't want any sizing or starch in fabric because that can affect how well your fusible web will adhere. I'm just going to press my fabric now. Try and remove any wrinkles. I'm going to centre my fusible web on the back of the piece fabric. Now, if you wanted to, prior to doing this, you can rough cut around the perimeter so that you don't get fusible web. We're not going to be using this portion of the fabric. So if you don't want to get fusible web on this, obviously you can trim down your template. I like to just fuse the whole thing. And these sections, when we cut this away, I keep those for small collage quilts, mosaic quilts and that sort of thing. So there we go, we've got it laid out nicely. I'm going to grab my iron now and I'm going to press. And I'm going to place the iron down for a few seconds at a time. Just move it across and let that glue melt and adhere to my fabric. Again, your web will have instructions on how to do it for your particular product. I want to get a nice bond between the fabric and the template. And then we'll just have a quick, make sure there are no bubbles, no pucks that aren't glued down. That looks great. So now I'm going to leave this now to cool fully before we then cut it out, ready to use for our applique. And our vine is almost ready to be appliqued to our background fabric along with our other shapes. There we go. So we just have this section here now to remove. It can be a bit tricky to get in there with the scissors. What I tend to do, or I like to do, is I fold this in half, try and line up all of my pieces so that the sides are meeting, and then I will just trim this section out. and we can remove that section. And there we go. That is our vine and our leaves all prepared and ready to applique down now onto our background.